My wife served, "Surprise, here are your divorce papers," through her sister at our anniversary party. I said, "Perfect timing." When I revealed the papers were actually property deeds, transferring everything to my name, her sister's smile disappeared faster than her inheritance. I, 38 male, just experienced the most surreal anniversary party of my life. My wife Natalie, 36, and her sister Bethany, 34, tried to publicly humiliate me, but it backfired spectacularly. Quick background: Natalie and I have been married for 12 years. No kids by choice, or so I thought. It was mutual. Her sister Bethany has always been weirdly involved in our marriage. She's single, bitter about it, and constantly filling Natalie's head with toxic ideas about how men are trash and marriage is a scam. 6 months ago, I started noticing changes. Natalie became secretive with her phone, started having girls' nights 3 times a week, and moved money from our savings to her personal account. Not huge amounts, like $500 here, $700 there. When I asked about it, she said she was investing in herself with some online courses. Whatever, it's her money too, right? Wrong. Turns out she was building an exit fund while planning to blindside me with divorce papers at our anniversary party. How do I know this? Because Bethany can't keep her mouth shut when she's drunk. 2 months ago, at Natalie's cousin's wedding, Bethany got wasted and started rambling to me about how some anniversaries are endings, not beginnings, and how public accountability changes everything. She even giggled about how served papers can't be ignored when there's an audience. I played dumb but started paying attention. I found a lawyer's business card in Natalie's purse. Holloway & Associates, divorce attorneys. I did some digging. She'd had 3 consultations. I also discovered she'd been apartment hunting with Bethany, and they'd put a deposit down on a place starting next month. Here's the kicker. 8 years ago, Natalie inherited her grandmother's house. It was in rough shape, basically worthless. I spent 5 years and about $80,000 of my inheritance from my dad fixing it up. New roof, new plumbing, complete kitchen remodel, the works. We lived there for 3 years before moving to our current place and renting it out. The house was in her name only because it was her inheritance. The rental income, $2,200 per month, went into her personal account because it's family property. I was fine with this because marriage is about trust, right? After discovering her plan, I consulted my own lawyer. Turns out, in our state, I could claim the increased value of the house due to my investments and labor. The house went from being worth $60,000 to $280,000. My lawyer said I had a strong case for either compensation or partial ownership. But instead of fighting that battle, I proposed something different to Natalie 2 weeks before our anniversary. I told her I'd been thinking about our future and wanted to protect our assets. I suggested we transfer the rental house fully into my name for tax purposes, since I'm self-employed and could use the deductions. In exchange, I'd transfer our current home, which we own jointly, entirely to her. She jumped at it. Our current home is worth $350 with only $100,000 left on the mortgage. The rental is worth $280,000 with no mortgage. She thought she was getting the better deal. We signed the papers 5 days before our anniversary party. All legal, all documented, all filed with the county. The anniversary party was last night. Natalie insisted on throwing a big bash, rented a private dining room at a fancy restaurant, invited about 40 people, friends, family, some of my coworkers. She was practically glowing with anticipation. Halfway through dinner, after the toasts, Bethany stood up with this massive grin. "I have something special for the happy couple." She pulled out an envelope and walked over to me. "On behalf of my sister, who deserves so much better, consider yourself served." She slapped the envelope on the table in front of me. The room went silent. I opened it slowly, saw the divorce papers, and started laughing. Not a crazy laugh, just a genuine chuckle. "Perfect timing," I said, pulling out my own envelope from my jacket. "I have some papers, too." I handed them to Natalie. Her smug expression started to crack as she read. "These are the deeds for the rental house," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "The ones you signed over to me last week. Remember? For tax purposes?" Her face went white. But you said." I said it would protect our assets, and it does. My assets. The $80,000 I put into that house, plus 5 years of my labor. My lawyer says I could have claimed up to 70% of the property value in the divorce anyway. This way, we avoided that messy fight. Bethany snatched the papers from Natalie. This can't be legal. You tricked her. Tricked her? She had her own lawyer review the papers. She signed them willingly, just like she planned to trick me with these divorce papers at our anniversary party. The room was dead silent. Natalie's mom asked, "What divorce papers?" Update 1. The party aftermath was intense. After I revealed the property transfer, Natalie tried to save face. She stood up and announced that we were taking a break, and this was all a misunderstanding. But Bethany, sweet helpful Bethany, had already posted on Instagram, watching my sister finally free herself from her toxic marriage. #divorce power, sisters before misters. Yeah, that didn't age well. Natalie's parents were mortified. Her dad, Raymond, pulled me aside and apologized. He said he'd suspected something was off when Natalie asked to borrow $5,000 last month for emergencies, but wouldn't say what. Turns out that was for the lawyer's retainer. My mom, who flew in for the party, was savage. She stood up and said, "Well, since we're sharing surprises, I should mention that the $80,000 my son put into that rental house came from his father's life insurance. His dead father. Natalie, you knew this was his way of honoring his dad's memory, and you were going to ambush him with divorce papers? At a party we paid for?" Oh yeah, forgot to mention, my mom had contributed $3,000 toward the party because Natalie said money was tight. Natalie and Bethany left in an Uber. Most of the guests stayed, and it turned into a weird support party for me. My coworker brought out a bottle of whiskey from his car, and we ended up closing down the restaurant. The next morning, I woke up to 67 text messages from Natalie. They ranged from, "How could you?" to "That house is my grandmother's legacy," to "You're a monster," to "Can we talk?" I responded once. "All communication goes through lawyers now. You started this process, I'm just following through." Bethany started a campaign to paint me as an abuser who financially manipulated her sister. She called my workplace claiming I was dangerous and should be fired. My boss, who was at the party, told her if she called again, he'd report her for harassment. Then Natalie showed up at my office with her lawyer, demanding an emergency meeting. My lawyer was available by video call, and we had an impromptu conference in my break room. Her lawyer, Holloway, tried to argue that the property transfer was signed under false pretenses. My lawyer pulled out the email chain where Natalie's previous lawyer, before Holloway, had reviewed and approved the transfer. She'd literally written, "This seems advantageous for my client." Holloway then tried a different angle. My client was not in a sound mental state when signing. My lawyer? Was she in a sound mental state when planning to serve divorce papers at an anniversary party? We have Instagram posts from her sister dated 2 weeks ago talking about the big reveal coming. Your client planned this ambush. Mine simply protected his assets legally. Natalie started crying. That house means everything to me. It's all I have left of my grandmother. I finally spoke up. You haven't visited your grandmother's grave in 3 years. You wanted to sell the house before I fixed it up. You called it a money pit and a burden. I have texts proving all of this. Holloway asked what I wanted. I said I wanted the divorce she started, a clean break, and for her to stop claiming I tricked her when she was the one planning the ambush. What about the house she lives in now? Holloway asked. That's hers, free and clear in the transfer. She gets a $350K house with only $100K owed. I get a $280K rental property with no mortgage, but tenants I have to manage. Seems fair to me. Update 2. Things got uglier before they got better. Natalie and Bethany decided to escalate. They started telling everyone I'd been planning this for months, that I'd manipulated a loving wife into signing over her inheritance. They conveniently left out the whole serving divorce papers at anniversary party detail. Some people believed them. I lost a few mutual friends who said even if Natalie was wrong, what I did was cold. I'm fine with that. The friends who were at the party saw what really happened. Then Bethany made a mistake. She went to the tenants at the rental house and told them they needed to start paying rent to Natalie because the transfer was fraudulent and would be reversed. She gave them a whole sob story about how I stole the house. The tenants, an older couple named Dorothy and Eugene, called me confused. I explained the situation and sent them the official deed transfer. They were appalled at Bethany's behavior and agreed to sign an affidavit about what she'd said. My lawyer sent Bethany a cease and desist letter. She violated it within 24 hours by showing up at the rental house again, this time with Natalie, trying to change the locks. Dorothy called the cops. Natalie and Bethany were charged with attempted breaking and entering and criminal trespass. The arrest was a wake-up call for Natalie's parents. Raymond called me and said, "I'm starting to see why you protected yourself. Bethany's always been a bad influence, but I didn't realize how deep this went." He told me something interesting. Bethany's been living off her parents for 2 years since her own divorce. Her ex-husband apparently left her because she was having an affair with her personal trainer. She got nothing in the divorce because of an ironclad prenup. Now she projects her hatred of her ex onto every man, especially me. Meanwhile, I hired a property management company to handle the rental. I didn't want to give Natalie or Bethany any excuse to show up there again. The management company did an inspection and found $3,000 worth of damage to the garage door and fence. Apparently, Bethany tried to break in through the back after the police left. Security footage confirmed it. I added destruction of property to the charges. Bethany was looking at actual jail time now. Natalie's lawyer called mine. They wanted to negotiate. The criminal charges were ruining Bethany's life and devastating Natalie's mental health. My terms were simple. 1. Proceed with the divorce as filed. 2. No claims on the rental property. 3. Natalie keeps the house as transferred. 4. No alimony either way. 5. Bethany pays for the property damage. 6. Both stay away from me and the rental property. 7. A written admission that the property transfer was legal and willing to officiate. They tried to negotiate. I held firm. I had all the leverage. Final update. It's done. Natalie signed the agreement. The divorce was finalized yesterday. Uncontested, clean break. She kept trying to make eye contact in court, but I just looked at my lawyer's notepad the whole time. Bethany pled guilty to criminal mischief and trespassing. She got 6 months probation and had to pay $3,000 in restitution for the property damage. She also has a restraining order preventing her from coming within 500 feet of me or the rental property. The best part? Natalie's parents were so disgusted by their daughter's behavior that they changed their will. Raymond told me this, not to hurt Natalie, but because he wanted me to know they were making things right. Apparently, Bethany was supposed to inherit a significant portion of their estate. Now she gets nothing. Natalie's inheritance was reduced too, with the difference going to charity. "You were a good son-in-law," Raymond said. "I'm sorry my daughters couldn't see that." Natalie tried one last manipulation. She sent me a letter through her lawyer. Not a legal document, just a letter. She wrote about how we'd fallen in love, our early years, how she still loved me but felt trapped by expectations. She said Bethany had convinced her that I was holding her back, that she deserved more, that the anniversary ambush would be empowering. She admitted she'd been planning it for 8 months. 8 months of lying to my face every day while planning to humiliate me in front of everyone I knew. And she expected sympathy? I didn't respond. The rental house is doing great. I raised the rent by $200, still below market rate, and the tenants were happy to pay it because they love the place. That's $2,400 a month in income from a property that's fully paid off. My financial advisor says I can retire 5 years earlier now. I found out through mutual friends that Natalie's struggling. The house she got has a $100K mortgage she can't really afford on her salary alone. She'd been counting on alimony and half the rental income. Her parents are helping for now, but they made it clear it's temporary. Bethany moved back in with her parents after violating her lease agreement, something about noise complaints and threatening neighbors. She's 34, unemployed, and has a criminal record now. Her Instagram is now private. But I heard she's been ranting about the corrupt legal system and how men always win. Last week, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Natalie on a friend's phone. "I know you won't respond, but I need you to know. Losing you was the biggest mistake of my life. Bethany poisoned everything good we had. I'm in therapy now, working on why I let her influence me. I'm sorry." I blocked that number too. People ask if I regret any of it. Honestly, I regret not seeing the signs sooner. I regret trusting someone who was plotting against me. But protecting myself? Using their own ambush timeline against them? Not for a second. They wanted to publicly humiliate me. They wanted to destroy me financially. They wanted to paint me as the villain in their story. Instead, they played themselves. The property transfer was legal. The divorce was what they wanted. The criminal charges were for their own actions. I'm dating again now. Nothing serious yet, but I'm upfront about what happened. Most women are appalled by the anniversary ambush plan. One said, anyone who'd do that deserves whatever karma comes their way. Karma came. It was documented, notarized, and filed with the county clerk. Edit. Since some people are asking, yes, this is all legal in my state. Community property laws vary. The property transfers were reviewed by lawyers on both sides. And no, I don't feel bad. They planned to ambush me with divorce papers at our anniversary party in front of my family and friends. I just made sure I was protected when they did.